I never planned on falling for a man who intimidated half the PTA, especially not while my kid was in the same classroom as his. The first time I saw Ryan Cooper, he was leaning against the chain-link fence outside the elementary school, one hand gripping a paper cup of black coffee like it had personally wronged him. Broad shoulders, faded jeans, boots that looked like they'd seen more than one lifetime. He had the quiet, measured presence of someone who could either fix your sink or throw you over his shoulder without asking. And judging by the way he kept scanning the playground for his son, he was also fiercely protective. I was late that day, juggling a bag of goldfish crackers, my laptop, and the crushing reality that my 8-year-old Max had forgotten his science project at home. Ryan's boy, Noah, was already waiting, standing close to his dad, one hand tucked into the man's back pocket like it was the safest place in the world. We didn't talk much that first week. A few nods, a hey, when our kids ran past each other on the playground. But there was something about Hema quiet steadiness that contrasted the chaos of my single-dad life. Max noticed it too. One night, over spaghetti, he said, "Dad, Noah's dad is cool. He can whistle really loud." By the second week, Ryan surprised me. "Max's dad," he called out one Thursday afternoon as I wrangled a stack of art projects out of my kids' arms. "You two doing anything for dinner?" The invitation caught me off guard. Small-town dads didn't usually invite each other over unless there was beer and a football game involved, and I was neither the beer nor the football type. But Max's eyes lit up like I'd just told him we were going to Disney World. That night was the first of many dinners at their house. Ryan cooked like he fought decisively, with purpose. His kitchen was neat but lived in, the kind of place that smelled faintly of cedar and garlic. Noah and Max tore through the living room while Ryan leaned on the counter across from me, asking questions that made me feel seen in ways I hadn't realized I was missing. He didn't ask out of politeness. He listened. And somewhere between the second helping of lasagna and Noah falling asleep on the couch, I realized I was in trouble. I told myself it was just friendship. Two single dads trying to give their kids something close to a family. But there were moments, brief, electric, when his hand would brush mine as we passed a plate, or his gaze would linger a little too long. Once, after the boys had gone to bed, I caught him watching me laugh, his expression soft, almost like he was memorizing the sound. The problem was, I'd built walls around my life, thick ones. My divorce had left me cautious, convinced that stability was safer than passion. Ryan, on the other hand, seemed like the kind of man who would dismantle those walls without breaking a sweat. Things shifted the night a storm hit. The power went out just after dinner. The boys thought it was the coolest thing ever, running around with flashlights while Ryan lit candles. We ended up sitting across from each other at the kitchen table, shadows flickering on the walls, the sound of rain filling the silence. "You're good with them," he said quietly, nodding toward where Max and Noah were building a blanket fort. "So are you," I replied. Ryan's gaze held mine. Not everyone would agree. It was the first time I saw the crack in his armor. The rumors about his divorce, the whispers about why he had custody, suddenly felt like meaningless noise. What mattered was the way his kid looked at him like he was home. That night, as we said goodbye at the door, the air between us felt charged. He stepped closer, like he was testing something. I didn't pull away. "See you tomorrow?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. The days that followed blurred into a rhythm school drop-offs, shared dinners, quiet moments that felt almost like a family we hadn't named yet. But the truth was, the closer we got, the more I feared what would happen if it all fell apart. And that fear came to life one Friday when my ex showed up unexpectedly at Max's school. She had a way of making every interaction feel like an interrogation. When she saw Ryan standing next to me, her eyes narrowed. "And who's this?" she asked, like the answer was already a problem. "Ryan," he said, extending his hand. She didn't take it. By the time she left, Max was quiet, and Ryan's jaw was tight. That night, over takeout, I finally asked him why he'd been so tense. He didn't dodge the question. "Because I know what it's like to have someone try to decide who's allowed to be part of your life." We sat there in silence for a moment, the weight of his words settling between us. And then, without thinking too much, I reached across the table and covered his hand with mine. He didn't pull away. What happened next wasn't dramatic. There was no grand confession, no sudden kiss. Just two men sitting in a quiet kitchen, holding on a little longer than necessary, knowing something had shifted and neither of us wanted to turn back. Weeks later, when Max asked if we could have dinner at Ryan's forever, I didn't have an answer ready. But that night, as Ryan leaned over to pour me another glass of wine, his hand brushed mine again, this time intentionally, and I thought maybe forever didn't sound so impossible after all. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.